Welcome to World Alert Updates. Subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The world watched as news broke of a tense standoff between U.S. and Chinese warships at Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea. The USS Higgins, a U.S. Navy destroyer, was encircled by Chinese vessels, turning a routine mission into a global crisis. Satellite images revealed advanced warships locked in a high-stakes maritime dance. The U.S. asserted freedom of navigation, while China claimed territorial rights. Governments scrambled for clarity, highlighting the fragility of peace in contested waters. This was no misunderstanding, but a deliberate act of intimidation. The world watched, aware this was a test of will and international order. The confrontation underscored the delicate balance of peace and the risk of conflict. The USS Higgins, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, navigated the waters near Scarborough Shoal, its radar picking up fast-approaching contacts. The ship's Combat Information Center buzzed with activity as sailors relayed information to Commander Eva Rostova. Two Chinese destroyers and a Coast Guard cutter were on an intercept course. Initial communications were polite but firm, with both sides asserting their positions. The USS Higgins maintained its course, operating in international waters. The Chinese vessels closed in, creating a tense, close-quarters situation. The Chinese ships executed a squeeze maneuver, attempting to intimidate the American destroyer. On the bridge, Commander Rostova and her crew remained calm, ready for any eventuality. The crew's professionalism was evident as they adhered to orders not to fire unless fired upon. The mission was one of presence and principle, not aggression. The risk of an accident grew as the Chinese ships drew closer. The crew's training and discipline were crucial in maintaining control. The USS Higgins stood firm, upholding international law. The standoff was a test of nerves and resolve. The American ship's presence was a statement of commitment to freedom of navigation. The situation was a delicate balance of power and restraint. The USS Higgins held its ground, a symbol of American resolve. The Chinese maneuvers escalated with a planned destroyer cutting across the USS Higgins' bow. The reckless move forced the American destroyer to slow down, signaling hostile intent. The Chinese were not just protesting, they were using their ships as tools of intimidation. Meanwhile, a Chinese Coast Guard cutter harassed nearby Filipino fishing boats, using water cannons to drive them away. The actions were a calculated display of power, targeting both the U.S. Navy and defenseless fishermen. The harassment was part of China's gray zone tactics, asserting control without triggering a military response. On board the USS Higgins, the crew watched with frustration, knowing they could stop the harassment but were ordered to de-escalate. Firing on a Chinese vessel would have sparked a wider conflict. The crew's restraint was a difficult but necessary discipline. Their strength lay in not retaliating, maintaining peace despite provocation. The USS Higgins' presence was a reminder of the importance of international law and restraint. Commander Eva Rostova stood firm on the USS Higgins bridge, her decision to halt the ship a bold statement. The Chinese expected retreat or escalation, but the Higgins held its ground. The orders were clear: uphold freedom of navigation, do not escalate. Commander Rostova balanced demonstrating resolve with preventing war. The standoff continued, the USS Higgins a sentinel amidst Chinese ships. The crew remained on high alert, ready for any development. The situation was a war of nerves, testing patience and professionalism. The American restraint was a demonstration of disciplined military conduct. The crew knew they occupied the moral high ground, exposing Chinese actions as reckless. The USS Higgins' strength lay in its ability to hold the line without firing. The standoff was a testament to the power of restraint and discipline. The crew's professionalism was a beacon of American resolve. The USS Higgins' presence was a statement of commitment to international law. The standoff highlighted the importance of rules and restraint in maintaining peace. The USS Higgins' actions reinforced the principles of global peace and security. The standoff was a victory for discipline and de-escalation. The USS Higgins, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, is a marvel of modern engineering. Equipped with the Aegis combat system and Tomahawk missiles, it's a floating fortress. Facing it, the Chinese Type 052D destroyer, known as the Chinese Aegis, matched the Higgins in modern capability. This confrontation was a meeting of near-peer competitors, closely matched in hardware. But the U.S. Navy's experience and decentralized command foster flexibility, crucial in crisis. At the heart of the standoff was a clash of philosophies, global rules versus national claims. The standoff was a microcosm of a larger global struggle. For generations, Filipino fishermen have relied on Scarborough Shoal, known as Panatag Shoal, for their livelihood. The shoal is a vital source of income and food for coastal communities. Since China's control in 2012, fishermen face harassment and intimidation. The incident with the USS Higgins was a dramatic example of their daily struggles. The Chinese Coast Guard's actions were economic warfare, denying them their livelihood. The impact on fishing communities has been devastating, pushing families into poverty. The presence of the USS Higgins offered a brief respite, a symbol of support. The fishermen's plight highlights the human cost of geopolitical conflict. The struggle for control of the South China Sea has real-world consequences for ordinary people. The fishermen are the forgotten victims in the geopolitical struggle. Scarborough Shoal is more than just rocks and reefs. Its strategic and economic importance is immense. An international tribunal ruled in favor of the Philippines, but China rejected the ruling. The standoff is a contest between China's claims and the rules-based international order. The South China Sea is a vital waterway, with a third of global trade passing through. Any conflict disrupting this flow would have catastrophic global economic effects. The waters contain rich fishing grounds and potential oil and gas reserves. Militarily, Scarborough Shoal is a strategic jewel, close to U.S. military facilities in the Philippines. A Chinese military outpost would alter the balance of power in the region. The USS Higgins mission was a direct challenge to China's coercion. The operation was a statement that maritime freedom and legal rulings matter. The shoal is a microcosm of a larger global struggle between law and power. The USS Higgins' presence was a commitment to international law. The standoff was a defense of a rules-based order. The USS Higgins' actions reinforced the principles of global peace and security. The standoff was a victory for discipline and de-escalation. The USS Higgins' presence was a statement of commitment to international law. The standoff was a microcosm of a larger global struggle. The most important outcome at Scarborough Shoal was what did not happen. No shots fired, no lives lost. After tense hours, the Chinese flotilla withdrew, and the USS Higgins continued its patrol. The crisis passed, a quiet victory for discipline and de-escalation. The crew of the USS Higgins demonstrated strength through restraint. They absorbed provocation without retaliating, stripping Chinese actions of justification. The world saw professionalism in the face of recklessness. The event sent a clear message to allies about America's commitment to security and law. It showed the U.S. Navy's resolve and capability under pressure. The standoff became a case study in crisis management. The event reinforced the importance of a rules-based order. China's actions attempted to replace that order with power-based claims. The American response defended that order. By holding the line, the USS Higgins reinforced global peace and security. The standoff was a victory for discipline and de-escalation. The USS Higgins' presence was a statement of commitment to international law. The standoff was a microcosm of a larger global struggle. The USS Higgins' actions reinforced the principles of global peace and security. The standoff was a victory for discipline and de-escalation. The USS Higgins' presence was a statement of commitment to international law. The Scarborough Shoal confrontation was a snapshot of a defining geopolitical struggle. It was a contest between two visions: international law versus spheres of influence. The South China Sea is the front line in this battle for the global order. Power is complex, involving both hard power and the soft power of legitimacy. The U.S. demonstrated leadership through restraint and adherence to law. The fragility of peace was evident, with the potential for escalation. The sailors on the USS Higgins defended the delicate balance of global stability. The event highlighted the need for truth and clear-eyed analysis. The real story lies in international law and the human cost of conflict. Understanding requires looking beyond headlines to the complexities of geopolitics. The test at Scarborough Shoal is over, but the larger contest continues. The responsibility to choose the right path falls to us all. The standoff was a victory for discipline and de-escalation. The USS Higgins' presence was a statement of commitment to international law. The standoff was a microcosm of a larger global struggle. The USS Higgins' actions reinforced the principles of global peace and security. The standoff was a victory for discipline and de-escalation.